Ambassador Kethavir stood at the observation deck of the Galactic Coalition Assembly Station. His 17 eyes moved slowly across the viewport, studying the ships that floated in the darkness of space. He had seen thousands of vessels in his long career. Ships from 47 different species, elegant cruisers with smooth curves, diplomatic carriers decorated with mathematical patterns, science vessels painted with the poetry of their creators. But he had never seen ships like these. The human fleet had arrived 3 hours ago. 5 vessels in total. They were ugly things, angular and harsh. Their hulls were thick with armor and scarred from battles. They had none of the beauty that civilized species put into their spacecraft. But the armor and the scars were not what disturbed Kethvir. What disturbed him were the paintings. Every single ship carried the image of a creature on its hull. Massive paintings that stretched across the metal. Beasts with fur and claws and teeth. Some walked on 4 legs, others stood on 2. All of them looked ready to kill. Kethvir felt his 4 hearts beat a little faster. He did not understand why these images made him uncomfortable. He was a diplomat. He had faced war fleets and hostile ambassadors. He had negotiated with species that could kill him with a single thought. But something about these painted creatures touched an old fear inside him, a fear that lived in the bones of all prey species. "Ambassador," a soft voice said behind him. Kethvir turned 2 of his eyes toward his junior analyst, Sitha. She was young and eager. Her scales were still bright blue, not yet faded to the gray of experience. "You have information?" he asked. "Yes, Ambassador. I have identified the creatures on the human ships." She held up a data tablet. "They are called bears and wolves. They are apex predators from the human homeworld." "Predators," Kethvir repeated. The word felt heavy in his mouth. "Yes, the wolf is a pack hunter. It works with others of its kind to chase and kill prey. The bear is a solitary hunter. It is extremely strong and aggressive, especially when protecting its young." Kethvir looked back at the human ships. The largest one carried the image of a bear standing on its back legs. Its mouth was open, showing teeth as long as his fingers. Its eyes seemed to stare directly at him. "Why would they paint these creatures on their warships?" he asked. Scytha shifted her weight nervously. "I do not know, Ambassador. Perhaps they worship them as gods. Many primitive species have animal gods." "Perhaps," Kethvir said, but he was not convinced. The Galactic Coalition had watched humanity for nearly 200 years. They were a young species. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 3 generations ago. The Coalition had expected them to be like other young species, eager to join, grateful to learn, easy to guide and control. They had been wrong. When the Zithrani Dominion attacked human colonies in the frontier wars, the Coalition expected humanity to fall quickly. The Zithrani were ancient and powerful. They had conquered dozens of species. Their weapons were advanced. Their numbers were vast. The war lasted 11 years. The humans won. No one in the Coalition understood how. The Zithrani had won most of the battles. Their technology was superior. Their soldiers were stronger and faster. But somehow, impossibly, the humans had won the war. Now the Coalition had invited humanity to join as full members. It was not a gesture of friendship. It was an acknowledgement of reality. Humanity was too dangerous to leave outside, and Kethvir had been given the task of understanding them. "The Coalition Assembly meets in 6 hours, he said to Scythai. "I must present my initial assessment of human psychology and military culture. I need to understand these images before then." "Should I request access to human cultural archives?" Scythai asked. "Yes, and request a meeting with their senior diplomatic officer. I want to speak with a human directly." Scythia bowed and hurried away. Kethvir remained at the viewport, watching the human ships. As he watched, a small shuttle emerged from the largest vessel. It moved toward the station with smooth, confident movements. Kethvir noticed that even this tiny craft carried a painting. A wolf's head, shown from the front. Its eyes were yellow. Its teeth were bared. He thought about what Scytha had said. Pack hunters. They work together to chase and kill prey. A strange thought came to him. What if the paintings were not religious symbols? What if they were not primitive decorations? What if they were warnings? He pushed the thought away. It was foolish. Humans were new to the galaxy. They were still learning. They could not possibly be a threat to species that had traveled the stars for millions of years. But as the shuttle grew closer, Kethvir found that he could not look away from the painted wolf. Its yellow eyes seemed to hold a message he could not yet read. His communicator buzzed, a message from the Coalition Security Council. Ambassador Kethvir, human diplomatic shuttle requesting docking permission. They wish to begin cultural exchange immediately. They say they are eager to help you understand their traditions. Eager to help. The words should have been comforting. Instead, they made Kethvir's scales itch. Grant permission, he said. He took one last look at the human fleet. 5 ships, each one carrying the image of a predator. Bears and wolves, creatures built to hunt, creatures built to kill. He remembered an old saying from his homeworld, a saying passed down from the time before his people reached the stars, back when they still had predators of their own. When a hunter shows you its teeth, it is not smiling. The humans were showing their teeth. Kethvir just had to figure out what it meant. He turned away from the viewport and walked toward the docking bay. The shuttle would arrive soon. He would meet his first human face-to-face. He would look into their eyes and try to understand what kind of creatures they really were. Behind him, through the viewport, the painted bear seemed to watch him go. Its eyes were dark and knowing. Its claws were raised. And somewhere in the back of Kethvir's mind, a small voice whispered that he was about to learn something that could not be unlearned. Something that would change how the galaxy saw humanity forever. He walked faster. His 17 eyes stayed forward. He did not look back at the ships again. The human ship was called the Spirit of Yellowstone. Kethvir did not know what Yellowstone meant, but the humans spoke the name with a strange softness. Almost like they were talking about something holy. The interior of the ship was nothing like he expected. He had prepared himself for darkness and harsh metal. Instead, he found wide corridors filled with warm light. The walls held images of landscapes, green forests, blue lakes, mountains covered in white snow, and everywhere more images of animals. Bears fishing in rivers, wolves running across open plains, birds flying against orange sunsets. It was beautiful and deeply unsettling. A human woman waited for him at the end of the corridor. She was tall, with dark skin and hair cut very short. She wore a military uniform with many small symbols on the chest. When she saw him, she pulled her lips back and showed her teeth. Kethvir forced himself not to step backward. He knew this was called a smile. Humans did it to show friendliness, but his instincts screamed that bared teeth meant danger. "Ambassador Kethvir," the woman said. Her voice was warm and calm. "Welcome aboard. I am Captain Elena Vasquez. I command this vessel." "Thank you for receiving me, Captain." Kethvir kept his voice steady. "Your ship is not what I expected. Most aliens say that." Vasquez began walking, and Kethvir followed. "They expect warships to be cold and empty, but humans need beauty. We need to remember what we are fighting for." "And what are you fighting for?" Vasquez stopped walking. She turned to face him. Her eyes were dark brown, almost black. Kethvir noticed that humans had eyes like predators. Both eyes faced forward, giving them depth perception. Eyes built for hunting. "Home," she said simply. "Family, pack." "Pack," Kethvir repeated. Vasquez smiled again. This time it seemed softer. "Sorry, old habit. My grandmother used that word. She said every human belongs to a pack. Family, friends, the people you would die for." She gestured down the corridor. "This crew is my pack now. These ships carry my pack across the stars, and I will protect them the way a mother bear protects her cubs." There it was again. The bear, the wolf, the predator language. "Captain, I must be direct with you," Kethvir said. "I have been asked to study human culture, to understand your psychology, and I find myself confused by the images on your ships, the bears, the wolves. Why do you paint predators on your warships?" Vasquez was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. "A fair question. Come, let me show you something." She led him to a large room filled with screens and holographic displays. Human crew members sat at stations, working quietly. They glanced at Kethvir with curiosity but no fear. Vasquez activated one of the displays. An image appeared. It showed a rough painting on a stone wall. The painting was simple, almost childish, but HFY could clearly see what it showed. A group of human figures, and beside them, wolves. This painting is 40,000 years old, Vasquez said. It was found in a cave on Earth. Our ancestors made it before they had cities, before they had metal, before they had writing. But they had wolves. They lived beside wolves. They hunted with wolves. They became family with wolves. She changed the image. Now the display showed a wooden ship with a carved animal head at the front, then a flag with a bear on it, then metal vehicles with wolf symbols painted on their sides. For 40,000 years, we have painted these creatures on our tools of war, Vasquez said. Viking longships, Roman standards, medieval shields, modern tanks and aircraft, and now our starships. But why? HFY asked. Do you worship them as gods? Vasquez laughed. It was a strange sound. HFY had learned that laughter meant happiness, but it sounded almost like a bark, like the call of a predator. No, ambassador, we do not worship them. She turned to face him fully. We identify with them. HFY felt something cold move through his body. I do not understand. Then let me explain. Vasquez sat down and gestured for HFY to do the same. Wolves are pack hunters. They are not the fastest animals. They are not the strongest. But they work together perfectly. They communicate without words. They protect each other without question. And when they hunt, they never give up. They will chase prey for hours, days, until the prey is too tired to run anymore. She leaned forward. Humans are the same. We are not the strongest species. We are not the fastest. But we work together. We never give up. And we protect our pack with everything we have. And the bears? HFY asked. His voice was quieter now. Bears are different. Bears are usually calm, patient. They avoid fights when they can. But when something threatens their family, Vasquez's eyes hardened. A mother bear will fight anything, any size, any number. She will take wounds that would kill most creatures. She will keep fighting until she dies or until the threat is gone. There is no fear. There is no retreat. There is only the need to protect. HFY thought about the frontier wars, the battles where humans had fought against impossible odds, the reports of human soldiers continuing to fight after receiving wounds that should have killed them. You are saying, he said slowly, that humans see themselves as these creatures. I am saying that we learned from these creatures. They taught us how to survive, how to hunt, how to protect. Vasquez stood up. My grandmother had a saying, the wolf you feed is the wolf that wins. It means that the part of yourself you nurture is the part that grows strong. She walked to the viewport. Outside, the other human ships floated in formation. For 40,000 years, we have fed the wolf. We have fed the bear. We have made them part of ourselves. She looked back at HFY. The creatures on our ships are not decorations, Ambassador. They are not primitive superstition. They are statements of identity. Statements to whom? Vasquez smiled again. But this time the smile did not look friendly at all. To anyone who might think about threatening our pack. HFY sat in silence for a long moment. He thought about his initial theory, that humans were primitive, that the paintings were simple religious symbols. He had been completely wrong. The paintings were not prayers to gods. They were promises. Promises of what humans would do to anyone who threatened them. Captain, he said finally, I believe I need to study your archives more deeply. I need to understand exactly what wolves and bears are capable of. Of course, Ambassador. Vasquez nodded to one of her crew members. Lieutenant Crow Feather will help you. He can show you our cultural records, our history, our nature. A young human male stood up and walked over. He had copper-colored skin and long black hair tied behind his head. His eyes were dark and steady. Ambassador, he said, let me show you what it means to be part of the pack. HFY followed him out of the room. Behind him, Captain Vasquez watched them go. Her hand rested on a small symbol pinned to her uniform. A silver bear, standing over two small cubs, protecting its young. Lieutenant David Crow Feather led HFY to a circular room deep inside the ship. The walls were smooth and gray. Small devices were built into the ceiling. The room felt empty and cold. "This is our cultural immersion chamber," Crowfeather said. "We use it to teach young crew members about Earth, about where we come from." He looked at Kethvir with calm eyes. "And sometimes we use it to help others understand us." "What does it do?" Kethvir asked. "It creates perfect holographic environments. You will see, hear, and smell everything as if you were really there. You will experience Earth, the real Earth, not the cities or the technology, the wild Earth, the Earth that made us what we are." Kethvir felt uncertain, but he had come here to understand humans. He could not turn back now. "Show me," he said. Crowfeather touched a panel on the wall. The gray room disappeared. Kethvir gasped. He stood in a forest. Trees taller than buildings rose around him. The air was cold and filled with strange smells. Green plants grew everywhere. A river flowed nearby, and he could hear the water moving over rocks. Above him, a blue sky stretched to the horizon. "This is Yellowstone," Crowfeather said. He stood beside Kethvir, looking at the forest with soft eyes. "One of the last great wild places on Earth. My ancestors lived in lands like this for thousands of years." "It is beautiful," Kethvir admitted. "It is also deadly." Crowfeather pointed toward the river. "Watch." At first, Kethvir saw nothing. Then movement caught his eyes. Shapes emerged from the trees on the other side of the river. Four-legged creatures with gray and white fur. Yellow eyes, long snouts. Wolves. Real wolves. Kethvir felt his legs go weak. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to run. The wolves moved with terrible grace, silent, focused. Their eyes scanned the forest constantly. "A pack," Crowfeather said. "7 wolves. They are hunting." "Hunting what?" Crowfeather pointed again. Farther down the river, a large animal stood in the water. It had long legs and wide, flat antlers on its head. "An elk," Crowfeather said. "It weighs 6 times as much as a wolf. It can run faster than a wolf. It can kick hard enough to break bones." He paused. "The wolves will kill it anyway." "How?" "Watch." The wolves spread out. They moved slowly, carefully. They did not charge at the elk. Instead, they surrounded it, cut off its escape routes. The elk saw them coming. It started to run. The wolves followed. Kethvir watched in horror as the chase continued. The elk was faster, but the wolves did not stop. When the elk ran left, wolves appeared to block it. When it ran right, more wolves were there. The wolves took turns chasing. When one got tired, another took over. They never stopped. They never gave up. The chase lasted for hours. The simulation compressed time, but Kethvir could see the pattern. The elk grew tired. Its steps became slower. Its breathing became harder. And still the wolves followed. Finally, the elk could run no more. It turned to face the wolves, exhausted and hopeless. The wolves attacked together. In moments, it was over. "This is called persistence hunting," Crowfeather said quietly. "Wolves do not need to be faster or stronger than their prey. They simply need to never stop. They run their prey to death." Kethvir felt sick. "Humans hunt like this? Our ancestors did, for millions of years. Before we had weapons, before we had tools, we chased animals across the plains until they collapsed." Crowfeather's voice was calm, almost gentle. "We are not the fastest species in the galaxy. We are not the strongest. But we do not stop. Ever." The forest disappeared. A new scene appeared. Mountains, snow, a different kind of cold. And standing in a clearing, the largest creature Kethvir had ever seen. A bear. A grizzly bear. It stood on 4 legs, but it was taller than him at the shoulder. Its fur was brown and thick. Its claws were as long as knives. Its small eyes looked around slowly, calmly. "Beautiful," Crowfeather whispered, "and terrible." 2 smaller bears appeared from behind the large one. Cubs. They played in the snow, rolling and biting at each other. The large bear, the mother, watched them carefully. Then Kethvir saw movement on the ridge above. Another bear, larger, a male. "Male bears sometimes kill cubs," Crowfeather said, "so they can mate with the mother." The male bear started down the slope toward the cubs. The mother bear changed. One moment she was calm, patient. The next moment she was charging. She ran at the male with a roar that shook Kethvir's chest. Her teeth were bared. Her claws were raised. She looked like death itself given form. The male was larger, stronger. He outweighed her by many hundreds of pounds. But the mother did not care. They fought. Claws tore flesh. Teeth bit deep. Blood stained the white snow. The mother took terrible wounds. Her side was torn open. One of her ears was ripped away. But she did not stop. She did not retreat. She kept fighting with a fury that made Kethvir's scales stand straight up. Finally, the male fled. He ran back up the ridge and disappeared over the top. The mother bear stood alone in the clearing. She was bleeding badly. She was breathing hard, but she turned and walked back to her cubs. She stood over them, protecting them, ready to fight again if needed. She will probably die from those wounds, Crowfeather said, but her cubs will live, and that is all that matters to her. The scene faded. The gray room returned. Kethvir realized he was shaking. Now you understand, Crowfeather said. He was not smiling. His face was serious and sad. The wolf teaches us to work together, to never give up, to chase our goals until we achieve them, no matter how long it takes. The bear teaches us to protect what we love, to fight beyond all reason when our family is threatened, to accept any wound, any pain, any death, as long as our cubs survive. These are the lessons on your ships, Kethvir whispered. These are the lessons in our blood. Crowfeather placed his hand over his heart. My people, the Lakota, have known this for thousands of years. The wolf and the bear are not just animals to us. They are teachers, spirit guides. They show us what it means to be truly alive. He walked toward the door, then stopped and looked back. The paintings on our ships are not threats, Ambassador. They are truths. They tell the galaxy what we are made of, what we will do for our pack, what we will sacrifice to protect our young. Kethvir stood alone in the empty room for a long time. He thought about the wolf pack, running their prey to exhaustion. He thought about the mother bear, fighting through mortal wounds to save her cubs. And he thought about humanity, a species that had fought the Zithrani Dominion for 11 years, that had lost battle after battle, that had refused to surrender, that had kept coming, kept fighting, until finally the Dominion broke. Persistence hunters, protective parents, pack animals. Kethvir finally understood what the paintings meant, and the understanding filled him with a fear deeper than anything he had ever known. Because now he had to tell the Coalition. He had to tell them that the creatures on the human warships were not symbols of what humans admired. They were mirrors. They were reflections of what humans truly were. Kethvir spent 3 days in the human archives. He read everything: battle reports, military doctrine, psychological studies, historical records going back thousands of years. And with each hour that passed, his fear grew deeper. The humans had given him full access. They had hidden nothing. At first, he thought this was foolish. Why would a species reveal its secrets to a potential enemy? But slowly he understood the truth. They wanted him to know. They wanted the galaxy to know. The paintings on their ships were warnings, and the humans wanted to make sure everyone understood exactly what those warnings meant. On the 4th day, Kethvir asked to interview human veterans from the frontier wars. The humans agreed immediately. They brought him to a quiet room on the station, and one by one the soldiers came to speak with him. The first was an old man with gray hair and a mechanical arm. His name was Sergeant Major Thomas Bell. He had fought in 17 major battles against the Zithrani. You want to know about the war, Bell said. It was not a question. Yes, I have read the reports, but I want to understand what happened. Truly understand. Bell nodded slowly. The Zithrani were better than us. I won't lie about that. Their ships were faster, their weapons were stronger, their soldiers were bigger and tougher. In a straight fight, they beat us almost every time. The records show they won 73% of all major engagements, Kethvir said. Sounds about right. Bell touched his mechanical arm. I lost this at the Battle of New Helsinki. Zithrani plasma blade. Cut right through my armor. We lost that battle. Lost it badly. Half my unit died in 1 hour. Yet you won the war. How? Bell smiled. It was a tired smile, full of old pain. Because we didn't fight the war they wanted. The Zathrani wanted big battles, decisive victories. They would smash a fleet, capture a planet, and expect us to surrender. That's how their wars worked. You lose enough battles, you give up. He leaned forward. We never gave up. We lost New Helsinki, so we hit their supply lines. They took our colony on Marcus Prime, so we raided their fuel depots. They destroyed our third fleet, so we scattered into 100 small groups and attacked from everywhere at once. Wolf pack tactics, Kethvir said quietly. Bell's eyes widened slightly. You know that term? I am learning. Good. Then you're starting to understand. Bell sat back. We couldn't beat them in one big fight, so we made them fight 1,000 small ones. We hit them and ran, hit them again, never let them rest, never let them feel safe. They won battles, but they couldn't hold territory. They couldn't protect their supply lines. They couldn't stop us from coming back. The reports say the Zathrani commanders were frustrated. They called human tactics dishonorable. Bell laughed. It was a harsh sound. Dishonorable. Right. They wanted us to line up and die properly. We wanted to win. His face grew serious. Ambassador, there's a human saying. We don't fight fair. We fight to win. The next veteran was a woman named Lieutenant Commander Sarah Okonkwo. She had been at the Battle of Kepler Station, the most famous battle of the war. 17 of us, she said quietly. Her eyes were distant, looking at something Kethvir could not see. 17 soldiers. The station had 3,000 civilians, families, children. The evacuation ships needed 9 hours to load everyone and jump to safety. The Zathrani sent 400 soldiers. Yes. Okonkwo's voice did not shake, but Kethvir could see the tension in her body. They wanted the station. They wanted hostages. They came through the corridors like a flood, and we held them. For 9 hours. For 9 hours and 22 minutes. We fell back, room by room. We used every trick, every trap, every weapon we could find. When we ran out of ammunition, we used knives. When we ran out of knives, we used our hands. 14 of your soldiers died. 14 heroes. Okonkwo finally looked at him. Her eyes were wet. They died so those families could live. They died protecting the pack. Every single one of them could have run, could have hidden, could have saved themselves. None of them did. Why not? Because that's not what humans do. She touched a patch on her uniform. It showed a bear standing over 2 small shapes. You know what a mother bear does when something threatens her cubs? She fights. She dies if she has to, but she never ever abandons them. We are the same. We would rather die than abandon the people who depend on us. Kethvir interviewed 6 more veterans. Each one told a similar story. Battles that should have been losses turned into costly victories. Retreats that became ambushes. Defeats that became delays, giving civilians time to escape. And everywhere the same themes. The pack, the persistence, the protective rage. One young soldier, barely more than a child by human standards, said something that stayed with Kethvir long after the interviews ended. Sir, you want to know why we paint wolves and bears on our ships? I'll tell you, those animals aren't just pictures. They're promises. Promises of what? The young soldier looked at him with eyes that seemed far too old. Promises that we will never stop coming. Promises that we will fight until we win or we die. Promises that, if you hurt our pack, we will hunt you across the galaxy. We will find you. We will never forget. And we will make you regret the day you ever heard the word human. That night, Kethvir sat alone in his quarters on the station. He stared at the wall, seeing nothing. He thought about the wolves, chasing prey for hours until it collapsed from exhaustion. He thought about the mother bear, fighting through mortal wounds to save her cubs. He thought about Kepler Station, where 17 humans had held back 400 Zathrani for 9 hours. And he finally understood the truth that the humans had been trying to show him. The paintings on their ships were not decorations. They were not religious symbols. They were not primitive superstition. They were self-portraits. The humans did not admire wolves and bears. They did not worship them. They were them. 40,000 years of evolution had shaped humanity into the ultimate persistence predators, the ultimate pack hunters, the ultimate protective parents. The wolf and the bear were not painted on human warships to ask for protection. They were painted there to tell the galaxy exactly what kind of species humanity was, and what would happen to anyone foolish enough to threaten their pack. Kethvir began writing his report. His hands trembled as he worked. He knew that when the Coalition read his findings, nothing would ever be the same. The Galactic Coalition Assembly Hall fell silent as Ambassador Kethvir took his place at the speaking platform. 47 species were represented here. Some floated in liquid tanks, others perched on specialized supports. Many sat in chairs designed for their unique bodies. All of them watched Kethvir with intense focus. He had never been so afraid in his life. "Distinguished representatives," he began. His voice echoed through the vast chamber. "I was asked to study human psychology and military culture, to understand why they paint predatory animals on their warships. I have completed my study. And I must warn you, what I have learned will change how we view humanity forever." He activated the holographic display. Images appeared above the assembly. Human warships with wolves and bears painted on their hulls. When I first saw these images, I believed humans were primitive. I thought they worshipped these creatures as gods. I was completely wrong. He changed the display. Now it showed the cave painting from 40,000 years ago. Humans and wolves side by side. Humans do not worship wolves and bears. They identify with them. For 40,000 years, they have seen themselves in these predators. They have learned from them. They have made these creatures part of their identity. A murmur ran through the assembly. Kethvir raised his hand for silence. "Let me explain what this means. The wolf is a persistence hunter. It does not need to be faster or stronger than its prey. It simply needs to never stop. Wolves will chase prey for hours, sometimes days, until the prey collapses from exhaustion. Then they kill it." He looked around the chamber. Many representatives were shifting uncomfortably. Humans evolved the same way. Their ancestors were persistence hunters. They would chase animals across open plains until the animals could not run anymore. Humans are not the fastest species. They are not the strongest. But they have something far more dangerous. They do not give up. Ever. He changed the display again. Now it showed the mother bear fighting the larger male to protect her cubs. The bear represents something different. Bears are usually peaceful. They avoid conflict when they can. But when something threatens their family, they become the most dangerous creatures on their planet. A mother bear will fight anything to protect her cubs. She will accept any wound. She will fight until she dies or until the threat is destroyed. There is no fear. There is no retreat. "Ambassador," a voice called out. It belonged to the Zythrani representative. He was a tall creature with 4 arms and red scales. "We are familiar with human stubbornness. We fought them for 11 years. What is your point?" Kethvir turned to face him. "My point, representative, is that you lost." The Zythrani's scales darkened with anger. "We won most of the battles." "Yes, you won 73% of major engagements. You had superior technology, superior numbers, superior soldiers, and you still lost the war. Do you know why?" The Zythrani was silent. "Because you tried to defeat persistence hunters in a war of persistence. You tried to break the will of a species that does not break. Every time you won a battle, they came back. Every time you took a planet, they raided your supply lines. Every time you killed their soldiers, more soldiers took their place." Kethvir changed the display one final time. It showed a human warship, the Spirit of Yellowstone, Captain Vasquez's ship. The paintings on these ships are not decorations. They are not primitive superstition. They are warnings. And I am here to tell you exactly what those warnings mean. He took a deep breath. Warning 1. The wolf. Attack one human, and you attack the pack. They will coordinate against you. They will share information, resources, and soldiers. They will never stop pursuing you. You may win battles, but they will win the war. They will chase you until you collapse. Several representatives were now whispering to each other. The room felt tense. Warning 2. The bear. Threaten what humans protect. Their homes, their families, their allies. And they will fight beyond all reason. They will accept any wound. They will sacrifice any number of lives. They will never surrender, never retreat, never stop until the threat is destroyed. The more you hurt them, the harder they fight. Warning 3. Persistence. Humans do not need to win quickly. They do not need to win cleanly. They only need to win eventually. They are patient. They are stubborn. They will remember every attack against them. And they will respond, even if it takes years, even if it takes generations. Kethvir shut off the display. The chamber was completely silent now. My recommendation to this assembly is simple. Grant humanity full membership in the coalition. Give them all territorial rights they request. Treat them as equals and allies. Why? The question came from multiple species at once. Because the alternative is to have them as enemies. Kethavir's voice was firm. And I have seen what happens to those who become enemies of the pack. I have read the history. I have heard the stories. I have looked into the eyes of human soldiers and seen what they are willing to do for their people. He paused. Humanity has painted predators on their ships for 40,000 years. In that time, countless enemies have threatened them. Where are those enemies now? Gone, forgotten, dust in the wind of history. The wolves and bears remain. The assembly voted. It took only 7 minutes. The decision was unanimous. Humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Coalition. Later that day, Kethavir stood at the observation deck one final time. He watched the human fleet prepare to depart. Their mission here was complete. Captain Vasquez's ship passed closest to the station. As it moved by, Kethavir saw the painting on its hull clearly. A massive bear standing on its hind legs, teeth bared. At its feet, 2 small cubs. His communicator buzzed. A message from Captain Vasquez. Ambassador Kethavir, thank you for taking the time to understand us. We know it was not easy. We hope that what you learned today will help our species live together in peace. There was a pause, then the message continued. We hope we never have to show the galaxy what those paintings really mean. The human fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed and vanished. Kethavir stood alone at the viewport. He thought about everything he had learned. The wolves that never stopped hunting, the bears that fought beyond all reason, the humans who had learned from both. A soft voice spoke behind him. Sathaya, his young assistant. Ambassador, what did you tell them? The assembly seems shaken. Kethavir turned to face her. His 17 eyes were tired and old. I told them the truth, Sathaya. Humans do not paint predators on their ships because they admire those creatures. They paint them because they are those creatures. Wolves and bears are not their gods. They are their kindred, their reflections, their true selves. He looked back at the empty space where the human fleet had been. The other species in the galaxy paint mathematics on their ships, poetry, the faces of their ancestors. Humans paint predators. We thought it was primitive. We thought it was superstition. His voice dropped to a whisper. We were wrong. Those paintings are not prayers. They are not wishes. They are not dreams. He closed his eyes. They are self-portraits. And the galaxy has just invited the wolves and bears to join the pack. Outside the station, stars burn cold and distant in the endless dark. Somewhere out there, human ships flew toward human worlds, wolves and bears painted on their hulls, protecting the pack forever.